Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd, as well as my friends at Yarnspirations.com. I've always been curious on how this was achieved on the edging of doing open work like this in knitting. I know, life is short, let's learn something new. So this is a knitting blanket. I know what you're thinking, you're on a crochet channel and the host is teaching knitting. I am bistitchual. I don't like labels, but I am. So I know how to do a little bit of knitting, so don't throw any questions at me for knitting as far as like garments and stuff, but I know how to do basics, and I've also been in touch with Yarnspirations here to ask questions about this on just clarification of the pattern itself. So I'm going to be taking you through the rows one by one. It may be a very long tutorial, but I'll try to keep my mouth shut as much as possible, and you can just stitch along with me. This is just a repeating of 8 rows once we get past the beginning, and then you just keep on going, and then you just have the ending to do. So it's going to be a really neat concept today. Yesterday I did practice, and I actually have a little sample that we have. So we want to create these open work just like this. I am substituting some thicker yarn. So this is Bernat Maker Splash. I have issues with my hands, so I can't use the thin yarn too much. But anyway, we will get to this, and I'm going to assume that you know how to knit. We do have knitting tutorials available for beginners if you're needing that. But we will get you started, and let's begin to play with our knitting needles. It's not even funny. Let's go. So let's go through the materials that you're going to need. This is using Bernat Sport Ombre Twist. You only need 2 balls with this. When knitting, it goes a lot farther, the yarn. You're also going to need a 4mm size US 6, and it's a circular knitting needle, and it's 29 inches. So what this means is that it's 29 inches from the tip all the way through the strand. This is not 29 inches. This is just a tutorial format today. So you just need a longer cord to hold the stitches. When you're working on this particular one, you're working in the lengthwise, so you're going all the way. So it's the length that you're doing. It's 51 inches, and then it's only 35 inches to the top here. It's going to take you a bit of time to be able to do this, and we're going to get started with doing a cast on, and we are going to go through the certain steps in order to make this really neat. So let's begin, and you're going to cast on a total of 270 stitches that you'll see, and I'm just going to do a small multiple here that I can demonstrate really the work that you need to see. You should know that there is a minimum of 54 stitches from when this starts to the tip, and that's on both sides. So if you are going to adjust the middle in any way, you need 54 this side, 54 this side, and anything in between in order to make that work as if you want to change the size. So we're not going to change the sizing of this open work here, but you can change the middle just like so. So cast on 270, and I'll be right back, and we'll get started with that. Later on in this tutorial, I'm going to be using what is called as a stitch marker, and these are going to be helping to mark the stitches so that your counting doesn't have to be too excessive, and that'll help speed you through as well. So let's do a slip knot and put it onto the knitting needle, and let's do a twist and transfer. It's my personal preference. If you like something else, then you can do that. So we're going to use this needle, and we are going to insert into the loop so it's both together just like you see, and you're going to yarn over the back needle, and you're going to pull it through just like that. Once you have that done, you are going to then just switch over like this and insert underneath and collect that off there. To speed up, you don't need to remove this needle out. All you just need to do is just move it like that, and it moves it to the back, which is where you need it. So that was considered 2 loops on there. You need a total of 270. So wrap the back needle, pull through, and use this needle to collect it up underneath to do a twist and slide on. And instead of pulling out your needle and resetting, just move it to the back side and move the stitches down. I used to always pull out my needle, and I realized yesterday I don't need to. I just need to shift it to the back again to reset, and it can speed up your item. So what I prefer to do is just cast on a whack of stitches. So 270 is the number that you need. In my sample, it's 120 that I'm doing in order to effectively show you what to do. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to continue along, and when I come back in a moment, the cast on process will be done, and I'll be right back. Once you have all of your stitches cast on, a total of 270, you're ready to go for rows number 1, 2, and 3. Let's do that next. Now that we're ready to go, we are going to do rows 1, 2, and 3. It's just a straight knit stitch. It's a garter stitch actually, just back and forth, which just means that we're knitting each time, so there's no purling involved in this blanket. So just insert into the first stitch, right to the center, wrap the back needle, pull it through like this, and then just shift up and slide. And you're going to do that all the way across. So into the next one, needle to the back side, yarn is here, wrap the back, pull forward, and slide. So in, wrap the back, pull through, and slide. And you're going to do this now for 3 rows back and forth of just the knit stitch. So when you get to the other side, just turn your needles around and just knit on the way back. And you're going to do rows number 1, 2, and 3 with just the knit stitch back and forth. And I'll be back at the end of the 3rd row. My 3 rows are now complete. Seriously, right? Okay, so what we have, here's my game plan, and then you can decide to play or not. So I'm going to do rows number 1 through 8, which is the repeat of this pattern, in order to get myself to the end. And we'll talk about the repeating after we get through all of this, because we have to end on either a 3rd row or a 7th row before we complete the final sections of this blanket. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to do this so that it's going to be one take from the edge to this section, and then I'm going to take a pause, and then I'm going to do the middle section. Okay, my middle section is only a total of 12 stitches, but yours will be a lot longer. And I'm going to show you how to be able to cheat the system so you don't need to count the center here and just work your way on the other side. So we're going to begin with row number 1 here of the pattern, and we're going to start right here, and I'm going to show you some techniques as we're going there as well. So leave me some comments if you're thinking I'm doing an okay job. I'm not a great knitter, and we will be going at the speed in which I knit, so it's not that fast. At least I don't think so. And let's begin. We use video chapters, and you can scroll ahead or back depending on that. That's in the video description as well as the pinned comment. To begin row number 1, we are going to start by knitting the first 10. So it says K10, that's knit 10. So we're just going to do our regular knitting, and we're just going to count these out. So what I'm going to do for you is that where I need to pause and stay quiet, I'm going to, and where I'm going to count along with you, I will. So we're going to knit the first 10. So let's just do that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you should be able to count 10 loops onto this needle here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. We're now going to cast off a total of 12 stitches, and how we cast off is a little interesting because that's something I had to learn. And so just pretend or just imagine that these 10 are by itself and the next 12 are going to be by themselves, and they're going to be eventually off the needle. So to start the cast off process, we're going to knit the first 2 in a row. Okay, so let's knit the first 2. And now we can begin the cast off. So just ignore the first 10. So we got 2, and you're going to take the first one here, and you're going to just insert your hook inside of the stitch and pull it up over top of the needle, but over top of this one as well. And it just requires a bit of practice. So you're going to come up and over, just like that. This would be considered number 1 of casting off 12. So just say in your brain, this is 1. Okay, so then we have to do and do this 12 times. So this is 1, so we have to knit the next one and take the second one up and over and say this is number 2. Slide off. Next one, knit, take the second last one, this is number 3. So I'm not going to over explain myself, so I'm at 3 and I'm going to continue the process. So it's continue to cast off. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and one more left. And that was 12. So what you're noticing now is that we have a loop that's been dropped out. This has been cast off, so it's completely secure. And this loop here now is considered one of the next 10. So it says knit 10, this has already been done. So that's 1. So we're just gonna knit the next 9. So just say in your brain, this is 1, and just start counting to 10. So 1 is already done, and just knit as normal. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So these 10, so we need to create another open space. So there's only 2 open spaces, no matter if you're on this row or when we do it, when we shift where this is going to be. So there's only ever 2 on the edges. So we're going to create the next open space by casting off the next 12. So to remember the process, you're going to knit the first 2. So 1 and 2 are knit. And then you take the second last one up and over, and this would be considered number 1 of 12 being cast off. Okay, so that would be considered number 1. So knit the next one, and 2. And let's do that all the way to 12. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, and 12. So we've now just cast off 12. So now you have 2 open loops that you'll see, and that's all you're going to have. So here's the secret now at this point. Instead of counting the number of stitches, because it doesn't give you the number that you need, you're going to go back to the other side of the start of this right here. And it says you need to just knit now until there's 44 stitches left onto the needles. So what I want you to do is grab the stitch marker, and you are going to count 44. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44. So right here is where the other side of that open space is going to start. So put in a stitch marker at that spot. Just wrap it around the cord and just close it. And so therefore that will just stay right there where that is. And so what you're going to do now is that you're going to knit. You're going to pick up and knit until you get to that spot. And then I am going to pick you up and show you how to finish the other side. So right where you're sitting, you don't need to count. You were just going to just knit until you get to the stitch that is before that stitch marker. And I want you to do that. So we're going to take a quick pause. Please knit across, and I'll see you at the stitch marker in just a few moments. Once you've gone across the middle and you only have 44 stitches left, the stitch marker is here. We are just going to just finish that last one and then just slide that off. So the remaining stitches in the last part of the section will be then the open work at the end. So let's begin. The first 12 is going to be a cast off of 12. So let's begin that process. We know how to do it now, so we're just going to do it. So remember, you're going to knit the first 2. So 1 and 2. Take the second last one and up and over, and that would be considered 1 of 12. So that would be number 1, and we'll continue to do that. So knit the next one, and up and over, that's number 2. Next one. It's 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. So now we just have 12 cast off. So now this is considered one of the next 10 that you're going to knit. So when you start with the next one and just knit, that's considered number 2. And so you're going to go all the way to 10. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So if you're ever unsure, the gapping space creates that obvious space, so you'll be able to count 10 loops. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So we're now going to cast off the next 12 once again. So you're going to knit the first 2 to begin. 1 and 2, and then start the cast off. So the second one over the first, and that will be considered one of 12. And we'll do that like we already know how to do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And so you're going to knit the final 10 in a row. Remember that this already counts as 1. So technically, if my counts are right, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, what do you know, right? So you're going to knit the final, technically 9 on there, but this is considered 1. So you can count it, but I don't think you need to. It's at the end of the row. And this would be how you would complete row number 1. So you're going to have some dropped loops. You'll see a total of 4 all the way across. So 2 on one side, 2 on the other. And in row number 2 coming up, we need to put those loops back into position by creating a new set of loops. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So at the end, you've done it. You can see the open loops that you'll have. You have that on both sides. And let's reverse our hands and begin the process of number 2. Row number 2 is a really simply worded. You're going to knit across, but you're going to cast on 12 stitches where the stitches have been dropped. Okay, right where we cast off, we cast it off 12. We're going to add 12 new cast on stitches, doing a cable cast on process, and I'll show you how to do that. So that's going to be interesting on how you do that, and we'll start. So we're going to knit just until we get to this last stitch, and we're just going to knit the first 10. You don't need to count, but that's what we're going to do. So the open space is basically going to tell you that you need to cast on because you're going to run into that space. Okay, so you're going to knit right into that last one, and you're going to have a big gap. So now we're going to turn our needles around because we need to cast on to this side here, but we can't do it because we normally cast on with this side. In order to make that happen, we have to turn the whole project so that the yarn is coming from the needle this side, and we need to begin the cast on process. I need you to have some stitch markers ready, just one for each one of these open spaces, because I'm going to show you how to do this pretty easily without excessive counting. So what I need you to do is we're going to do a cable cast on. We did a twist and transfer when we cast it on before. We need to do a cable cast on for this. So we don't want to go inside of any of the loops. We want to go in between the gapping space between the loops. So we just insert in so that the strands are in front of the needle. So we're right in between. Wrap the back needle and pull through and just rest in front like this. Grab one of the stitch markers and push it onto the needle. You'll thank me later, honestly. We're going to put the yarn back into our hands. And what we want to do is a twist and transfer of this onto the needle after the stitch marker. So we're going to do what the twist and transfer it on and slide it onto the needle and turn or pull the hook or pull the needle out. So this is considered one of 12 for cast on. So I had you do this so that you can easily count 12. If you get confused in any way and you don't put this and then you're starting to question your life, this just is going to save your time. So you're always going to go into the space between the two loops. Do you see that? Wrap the back needle, bring it forward, twist and transfer onto the needle. And you need to do that with 12 times. My secret to you, don't pull this strand so tight that you can't get this needle through. Just give it a little bit of a tug, but nothing that is going to prevent you from sticking your needle in, and you're going in between the space. So you should always see two strands in front of your needle that's in behind. Wrap the back needle, pull through, push up, and transfer on. And don't over tighten that loop. Just take it out and just use your fingers, separate them so that you can get the space in between. And you're looking to put 12 of these on here. So when I look at it, there's the stitch marker. I have 4 out of 12 already cast on. And we're going to continue this process. Yarnspirations did say that this is the best method to casting on in this process to make it a nice clean look in the spacing. Make sure you're going in between the stitches, not just into a loop. Okay, let's count. There's a stitch marker, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 so far. I want a total count of 12. I think I have one more left. So count 12. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Once you've confirmed that you have your 12, you're going to reverse the project back around so that the yarn coming to the ball is on this side. Make this strand to the back of the project. And all you're just going to do now is slide the loops that are after the space up to here. And what you're going to do, especially on the first one, is that you're going to knit until you hit to the next space. There's a total of 10. Here's the secret though. When you do the first one, give it a tug so you don't end up with a space. So before you get too excited, just give it a good tug and then slide off. And you're just doing the first one as a tug so that you don't end up with a loose strand that is going to be holding and draping. So you're just going to knit until you hit to the next space. And this stitch marker will come off at a different in the next row. So you just leave it there. It's not bothering you. And you keep stitching until you get to the space. So you don't hear me counting because I'm just relying on running into the space. So you do the last one before the space, slide up, and now you have the space. Reverse the needles, so just turn them around. Okay, keep the yarn in behind the hook. And you're going to insert and cast on 12. Just push this up a little bit so that you can see the space between the stitches, and wrap the needle and pull through and rest. Grab another stitch marker so that you can easily count another grouping of 12. So pull up and transfer, and you need to cast on 12 stitches to do that. So I technically don't count them when I'm casting on, I just do a whack of them. And when I think I'm getting close, I just do a count and then see how many more I have to do. You're essentially building a bridge, if you haven't already. If you need an analogy, that's what you're doing. I'm going to do a rough count, see where I am. So two, and if you do too many, you could just slide off a loop and it won't matter. You just retighten it back up. So if you do too many, you could just undo it. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11. Got one more to do. Okay. Once you have your 12, turn the project back around. You can leave the stitch marker into position. It doesn't really matter. The yarn has to go in behind, and you're going to move up this. So what you're now going to do is that you're going to crochet now, or sorry, knit until you get to the next open space. So this is considered the middle of the blanket, and so the open spaces will be on the opposite side on the edging. So you're just going to pick up and do the first one. Remember what I said after a space and casting on like this. Just when you go to knit the first one, give it a tug, tighten it up a little bit, and then start knitting. So I will take a quick rest, and I will be back in just a few seconds when I'm on the other side, when the gap appears after you've gone through the middle of your blanket, and I'll be right back. So I'm just finishing up going across the middle of the blanket, and I'm about to hit my next spacing on the other side. So like before, turn your project around, put the yarn towards the back, and start casting on a total of 12. So remember, go in between the stitches, okay, and yarn over, pull through, rest, get a stitch marker, put it onto the end. Okay, and then twist and transfer to put on, and we're going to cast on 12 together. I'm just doing a whack of them to see when I think I need enough. If I have too many, I can just slide off a loop or two. Okay, and let's count. So after the stitch marker, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, and I have one more. Once that's done, make sure the loops stay in the proper order. Turn your project around. Put the yarn on the back side, so don't go up over top, go underneath. And then knit across the next 10 that you have, so just move the loop closer. So you can count the 10, but if you're missing one, then it won't really matter, but just do the ones that you have until you get to the next big open loop. So if it feels like a lot of work, just keep in mind you only had 2 gaps on each side of the blanket, so at least you don't have it throughout the whole thing. And it's going to be very clearly obvious when you get to the last one before a gap. So turn it around, and we're going to cast on another 12. Put the yarn towards the back. Go in between, yarn over and through, rest, put on another stitch marker. My paranoia kicks in a lot with knitting, so the stitch markers help me just to verify my numbers, and let's cast on 12. I'm not a strong knitter, so I use stitch markers to help get rid of the paranoia. And it saves me having to count in real time. So if I was having to count this in real time, then I would start making up numbers in my head and getting really antsy-pantsy about it. So the only time I really have to count is to do the cast-off process when you're making the gaps to begin with. But the next 2 rows are going to be quite easy to do. And you'll see that in a few moments. Okay, let's count. So you got after the stitch marker, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. And just do one more. And then you have to turn the project around. Put the yarn in behind first, underneath. If you put it over top, you'll create a mess. And then you're going to do the final 10 that are here. Remember the first one, after that cast on, just give it a good tug and make it tight, and then just continue to go right to the end of the row. And this was row number 2. And that was it. So you're going to turn the project around and start row number 3. So row 3 and 4 are both the same, but I will take you through each of those to make sure that you got it. Let's go on to row number 3. So as we start row number 3, you're going to see this open space here that was created, and you are just going to knit across. So just start and just knit, keeping the yarn on the back side. And when you hit to the first gapping space that you cast on, just take your time with that. If you are doing the blanket repeating, you can end on a row number 3 before finishing off the final processes to do it. So at the end of row number 3 is one of the finishing points. The end of row number 7 is the next time that you can possibly do that as well. So when you get to the size that you want, you can finish on a row 3 or 7. But you're still going to just go 1 through 8 until you get to that level. Okay, so we're hitting the cast on process. My only tip that I have for you is make sure that they are still in the same order, so make sure they're not crossing over top of each other. It's very possible it happened to me on the first sample just because I wasn't paying attention. They just happen to be out of order. So just keep them in order and just knit as normal. So you don't have to count the stitches, you just have to knit all the way across. So what I'm going to do for you now is that I'm going to meet you on the beginning of row number 4. So you're just going to go on over, just use the video chapters in the video description or pin comment to be able to get the time markers that you would need. And I will see you on the end of number 4, or sorry, the beginning of number 4 in a moment. And as you finish off the area that is creating the gap, you just jump to the next one. You're going to remove your stitch marker as you're going across because you don't need it anymore, and so you can do that. So just slide it on off out of the way and continue to knit yourself across. So remove the stitch markers as you hit them and just continue to go across as you normally would. So I'll see you at the beginning of number 4 in a moment. Let's begin row number 4, and all the stitch markers are now removed out of the project. You're going to see the draping that's happened for the spacing that you just did. So now you're just going to continue then to knit all the way across for row number 4. Nice and simple and no counting, and I'll be back in just a few moments. Just kick you off on row number 5. We're about to start row number 5. Do you notice that there's little jet outs like this? This number 5 is going to be having a cast off so that we have this little piece that hangs out and then it goes in. So what's going to happen is that we're going to get that done, and then there's going to be a gapping space and then another 10 and then a gapping space and then go on. This is what is creating that 54 on the edges on each side is actually row number 5. So let's begin to do that. The 54 is like what the count is. So you can do 54 one side, 54 on the other, and then whatever's in the center, but 54 was the magic number for the edging. So we're going to begin number 5, and let's get started right away. Row number 5, we're going to cast on 11 stitches. Now you're thinking it should have been 12, but the way that the cast on process happens is that it'll work out, so you just got to trust it. So you're going to knit the first 2 like we would if we were casting off. Okay, and then you're only going to do 11, so not 12 as normal. So we're going to just go over top, and this is 1 of 11. So we've done the cast off before, so I'll keep quiet, and we have to do a total of 11 altogether. Okay, so this is 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. And 11 is the final. Okay, so now we're going to move on. This loop that is already on to the needle counts as 1 of 10. So you're going to knit 10. So this is already 1. So the next one that you'll start is considered number 2. And let's go to 10. It's 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. So you should be able to count 10 loops on there. So the first part has been cast off. As you can see, that's the dangly piece that you'll see at the end of your blankets. So now we're going to cast off a total of 12 now. And so we start with the next 2, and we just knit the next 2. So 1 and 2, and then bring the second one over. So this is considered 1 of 12. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so now you technically have the first gapping space. We always need 2 gapping spaces. The first one that you have is not considered one of them. So this is 1 of 2. So the loop already onto the needle is considered 1 of 10. So now you're just going to knit the next 9. So just count it like there's 1 on there, there's 2, and the next one will be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so now we're going to cast off the process once again. So this, on row number 5, it extends further on beyond the last gapping that you had before. So the gap will be here somewhere. And so that shows you that you're doing it right. So you're going to cast off another 12. So just knit the first 2. And take the second one over. And that's considered 1 of 12. So let's continue to do that. It's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. And 12. So right now you have that done. You have 2 gapping spaces that have been created that you'll see, 1 and 2, and just pause for a few moments. And what I need you to do is go to the end of this row, so just follow it around, and this time we need to put a stitch marker in after the 54th one. So count it backwards like this and go this way. So 54, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, and 54. Once I have the 54th one in, so for myself, your center is going to be a lot bigger. I'm just doing a small swatch, as I've said before. So I'm just going to put the stitch marker there. So everything beyond here is 54 stitches to take you to the end. And so this is the center piece. It just happens to be pretty short for me, for my sample. So I'm going to have you pick up your knitting needles and just crochet, knit yourself all the way to that stitch marker. And I'll pick you up and show you how to do the other side of row number 5. So after you get to the stitch marker, there's 54 stitches after the stitch marker that we're going to play with. Slide the stitch marker off. So now we're going to do a cast off of 12, starting here. So just knit the first 2, 1 and 2, and then just second one over. And so that would be considered 1 of 12. And let's continue to do that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, this is the last one. So the next 10 are going to be knit. This is considered already 1 of 10. So just do the next 9. So consider this count 1, and then do the next one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you've got 10. You should be able to count 10 loops here to make sure that you got that. And now you're going to cast off the next 12. So start with the first 2, knit the first 2. So 1 and 2, and take the second one over. So this is considered 1 of 12. Let's keep on doing that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 is the final. So now you're going to knit the next 10. This loop already counts as 1 of the 10. So start in the next one. Say that's number 2 out of 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and what you need to do after these 10, technically you just have to keep knitting all the way to the end. So after that last space, you could have just say you're going to knit all the way to the end. Okay, so we're just going to knit all the way. And when we start row number 6, you're going to notice is that we are going to cast off immediately to be able to do that. And I'll demonstrate that in a few moments. And this concludes row number 5. So let's reset our needles and let's get on to row number 6 in just a moment. Row number 6, we're going to start off with casting off 11 immediately. So we need to create that little indentation that comes out on this side to match what it looks like on the other side, but we do it on this side on row number 6. So we're going to cast off a total of 11. So we're going to knit the first 2. And then we just take the last one over top. So this is 1 of 11. This is 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9, 10, and last one is number 11. Okay, so we're going to continue then. So that's been cast off. You can see it's going to hang now, and you are going to knit now across, and when you have the gapping spaces that you'll have, you're going to cast on your 12. So just, you don't need to count these. Remember that this counts as one of the 10 that is currently part of this here. So you're just going to continue just to knit yourself across until you hit to the gapping spaces that you'll have. Okay, and it's going to be obvious that the gapping space is happening right here. So you need to cast on a total of 12. So let's reverse these needles around and begin the cast on process of 12. Make sure the yarn is in behind this needle here. And let's cast on 12. Go in between the spaces of the stitches, okay? And just through and pull through and rest. Put on a stitch marker. And we're casting on 12. So transfer it on, that's one of 12, and just keep doing that until you get 12. This is my third time actually doing this. I did a practice swatch, and then I did another swatch just to verify I knew what I was doing, but it's because it's my third time, I'm making it probably look easier than it is. Okay, if you're trying it for the first time. So if you're struggling a bit, just know that I have had a little bit of practice. Okay, let's just count and see. So stitch markers, so there should be 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So I got an extra one. So I'm just going to verify before I slide off. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I'm just going to slide the last one off, pull it out. And there's my 12. Let's reset my hands. Back the other direction. The yarn needs to go in behind, and you're going to pick up and do the next 10 that are here. So when you go to knit, remember what I said, because you're jumping over. Okay, you were going to knit the first one and just give it a bit of a tug, just to tighten it up a bit, and then just continue to knit until you hit to the next gapping space. Okay, the gapping space is next. So we have to bridge it over by casting on 12. So let's turn it around. Get the yarn in behind the first needle. Okay, it's still attached, as you see. So go into the space in between. Yarn over, pull through here, rest. Put on a tapestry needle. Or sorry, put on a stitch marker. I don't know where this stuff comes out of my head. So then you're just going to cast on your 12. So we'll do that. The worst thing you can do with this cast on is be too tight. Okay, let me just take a quick count. So after the stitch marker, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So 12's on there. Turn it back around. And what I need to do now is that you're considered in the center of the blanket. Okay, so what you're going to do is that you're just going to stitch now until you get to the next gapping space on the other side of the blanket. So just continue to knit, and I will see you at the first gapping space on the other side. So we're currently in the middle of the blanket. I'll be right back. So I'm coming up to the first space on the other side of the blanket. So once you get to that space, turn everything around so that you can do a cast on process of 12. Make sure the yarn is in behind this needle here. Go in between, yarn over, pull through, and rest. Put on a stitch marker. Okay, and cast on 12. The hardest thing about shifting over from crochet is how you hold the yarn. The yarn is usually held in this hand, and so it's opposite because I'm not doing continental knitting, I'm doing traditional English knitting. People suggest that I should do continental because I'm a crocheter, which I would technically agree with, but my mom showed me English, and so a bit of my mom is within my stitch work by honoring the way she showed me. I tried the continental too. It was tough for me. You can let me know in the comments. Are you continental or you are English traditional? So let's count. I need 12, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. And put on, there's the 12. Let's reset and turn around. Put this yarn in behind. Move everything up and bridge it over. And the first one, just use your finger and pull it up and keep it tight. And so you have a nice tight attaching. So you're going to knit until you hit to the next gapping space. Okay, next gapping space, reset your needles around, turn around, and just go in between the space and cast on another 12. Use a stitch marker, and let's cast on 12. So the end of this row is unique. We haven't done the way that we're finishing this row. That's why I haven't got there yet to tell you, but you'll get there in a few seconds. Well, maybe a couple minutes. I'm getting a little tight. So let's count the stitches. So after the stitch marker, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2 more. Okay, so this is the 12th. Let's turn this back around, reset. And we're going to do the last 10, but it's not the end of the row. So just start knitting in the next one, pull the first one tight, just give it a good tug, and do the last ones that you have. So there's 11 stitches that we casted off in row number 5, if you recall. And what we need to do is we need to replace those back in so that we're creating a new jet out that is existing. So this is technically the end of the row, but we're not done. We need to add more. Okay, so there's the end, but we need to turn it around and add another 11 cast-ons. Okay, so you're gonna just turn around, reset, and add 11 more in. Okay, grab the back needle and rest. Use a stitch marker. And start and only do 11 this time. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't have to count either. You're just gonna make sure there's 11. I don't know why I was counting. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8. 9, 10, and 11 is the last one. So that's the end of the 6th row, and we're moving on to row number 7 next. So let's reset everything, and let's begin to do that next. When I say reset, just hold where you are, sorry, don't turn, because you are just gonna go back across there because we just cast it on those 11. So let's begin row number 7. Row number 7, you're just going to knit as you normally would, except for the very last section of this one. So when I say that, it's the last 11 stitches that we have to do something special with. So you're just gonna knit as you normally would. Okay, so this is adding on a new jet on piece. And when you get to a stitch marker, you can just remove the stitch marker and just place it on hold until you need to do more casting ons in the future. At the end of row number 7 is the time that you're allowed to actually stop the project and just do the final 2 rows that you'll need. So rows number 3 and 7 are those magic rows in case you need to know that. If you get to a size that you love, then just either finish on row number 7 or number 3 and then continue on forward. So as you hit a stitch marker, just continue just to slide it off, get it out of the way, and then just continue to knit across. I'll see you close to the end of the row because we have to do a process at the very end, and I'll be back in just a moment. So I'm coming up to the end of number 7, and I'm running out of stitches, but I'm not done. So you see how we cast it off before 11? We need to add on 11. So we need to cast on 11 at the end of number 7 here. So just resetting ourselves and put a stitch marker in so we can see how many 11 is. So even if you weren't watching me, I would still put on the stitch markers because I'm that paranoid. So let's cast on 11. So the end of number 7 here is the ending of when you're ready to finish your blanket. Okay, so you still have number 8 if you were continuing through the cycle, but when you're ready to say that you're finally done, it either has to be the end of row number 3 or end of number 7 before you complete the final 2 rows. Let's take a count. That should be 11. I haven't been counting, but there should only be 11. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11. So I put on 2 more, too many. Let's try again. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11. So you're just going to hold the stitches right where you are, and you're going to begin number 8. So you don't need to reset because the stitches are already on this side ready to go. Let's begin number 8. The final row of the repeating is just row number 8 here, and you're just going to knit yourself all the way across. So no counting, just straight knitting, or gaily forward, or whatever you want to call it. Just knit. When we hit that first stitch marker that we have, it's the only one that's sitting in the project to help us because we casted on 11. We're going to just slide that off and out of the way, and we'll be using it again in the future when you need to cast on more. Okay. Stitch markers coming up, just slide it off and then continue. I'll see you at the end of number 8 in just a moment. So I've now just finished off row number 8. So you're going to repeat rows number 1 to the 8th row until the blanket is measuring 35 inches in the distance. Okay, so you're actually crocheting like this across, so it's going to be 35 inches. When you're ready to finish this off, the last row either needs to be a 3rd row or a 7th row before proceeding to the final 2 rows to be able to do that. So you can use the time markers in the video chapters in the video description or pinned comment to go back to row number 1 to reset yourself to go and do the process as many times as you need. So what's going to happen then is that once you are ready then to begin the finishing processes, either finish on a 3rd or 7th row, we're going to knit the next 2 rows, and that's going to be coming up next. Okay, let's just say that I'm done and I finished on a 7th or 3rd row. You're just going to knit just back and forth a total of 2 rows complete. And when I come back, I'll have those 2 rows done and we'll show you how to do the final cast off to finish your blanket off today. So now you've just done the 2 extra rows that you needed and you're ready to finish. So we've been casting on and off throughout this whole project. So you're going to start your casting off process. You're not going to need to count. So you'll knit your first 2 and then start the process. So just take the last one over the last one and then just keep on going. Okay, so you don't need to count, and you're going to work your way all the way through. And as you're working further and further, more of it will be released from your needles. Take your time, and I'll see you at the end of the row in a moment. So I'm coming up to the very end. I've been casting off the whole time, so the blanket's been released off of my needles. And the trick is at the end of this, you want to make sure that you're going to secure in the final so that it doesn't unravel on you and cancel everything that you've done. So you're going to end up with one last loop. Just pull on the loop just to make it bigger. And you can take your scissors and cut the yarn that is leading to the ball. Cut it long enough so that you can put it through a tapestry needle to be able to weave in the ends. And what I would do is just put this through the loop. And so when it tightens onto itself, it stops that from unraveling itself. And therefore you would have your process done. And so you've learned how to do several things today, is cast on, cast off. You've done a cable cast on, a twist and transfer cast on. You've done the garter stitches, which is just net stitch back and forth. And you've learned how to create these spaces that make the blanket flare at the tips. That's it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's tutorial, and we hope to see you again real soon right here on the Crochet Crowd. Bye-bye.